sports fans. How we doing? It's Jay coming to you. Flying solo this week again. Keith got in a car accident on the night we recorded these, so unfortunately he wasn't make it this week. So you're just gonna get me and my shitty opinion on football. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you do, excellent. Keep watching. But again, this week you're getting a solo episode of the Week 10 Sunday preview. We are looking at, we actually have a 9:30. We have a Germany game. First time they're playing in Germany ever. You're looking at Tampa Bay. They're playing in Munich, Germany. Yeah, Tampa Bay and Seattle. Technically, Tampa Bay is the home team in this one. Falcons just lost on Thursday, so this game means a lot more to Tampa Bay than it probably should. But Tampa Bay has a chance, if they win, to take back the lead in the South. If they lose, we stay tied with them. Seattle's on a run here. They've been doing pretty well. Walker III looks great. If it wasn't for how good Olave's doing, I think he'd be tearing away with the Rookie of the Year. On offense. At this point, I went with Seattle on this one. I took Seattle 27-20. They're playing good football over there, and Tampa Bay's just, Tom's doing his best. The rest of the team's pretty much, they've got a lot of talent that's underproducing around them. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's, changes in the coaching staff and the play calling. I'm not sure exactly what's going on over there, but I'd love to see, Tampa Bay start winning to a certain extent. Again, being a Falcons fan, it's more, I root against them when I have to. This one, if we were a little further apart, I'd have a little more love for these guys. But right now, I just don't, I see Seattle taking this one. I think it's going to be not a blowout game, but I think it's going to be a game where Seattle's offense just is clicking a little bit better, and both teams' defenses are stable, but not doing great. So again, I tip my hat in this one to Seattle, 27-20. Good luck to you guys in the first Germany game ever, and for our first 1 o'clock game, we're looking at Detroit versus Chicago. After watching Fields play last week, Fields last week looked like the quarterback that I thought, was coming out of the draft. He's definitely looked a little slow to start his career. He's had more downs than ups. But last week he really came out and he flashed, quite a bit of skill, quite a bit of talent. Rushed for 178 yards or 76, something like that. But it was pretty disgusting on top of his passing stats, which were pretty, it was a pretty good stat line for a guy who rushed most of the game. The Detroit team over here, for a team that's such a high-scoring offense, the fact that they're, losing constantly still blows my mind. They just gave away Hawkinson, and that hurts a little bit. Swift seems to be back, but he wasn't really a part of the offense much. They got to figure out how to work him back into thing, because if you go back to his first couple of weeks, him and St. Brown and what they were doing over there was pretty impressive. But right now, Chicago, it's funny because this looks like another one of those addition by subtraction things. They lost Roquan Smith, they lost Robert Quinn. These guys traded him away to try to rebuild the team. It seemed like, and since then, they're winning. They had a pretty impressive. The team looks almost better. You thought these guys were gonna. I expected Mostert to run all over these guys last week against Miami. And it really wasn't happening. I mean, the run game was pretty. The defense was pretty solid. The run game was never really able to get going over there, and they got after it pretty steadily. So I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm going to tip my hat to Chicago on this one. I got them doing 29-27. 29-17. I'm sorry. I just don't see Detroit being they don't look like the team that started off the season. And it's a shame because, a lot of people get behind these hard knocks teams, and they're really rooting for some of these guys. Our next game on the slate for 1 o'clock is our Cleveland Miami game. Um, and as much as I got a lot of love for Chubb and these guys over there. Cooper's looking good. He's having a good season. And the fact that Brissett's been able to hold it together, until Watson's ready to come back and take over the reins. It's I'm gonna have to go Miami here. Their offense looks pretty unstoppable. I mean, his numbers are pretty impressive on the season. He's at almost 1,100 yards. I think he might actually be just over 1,100 yards. But either way, his numbers it's right around that 1,100 yard mark, and he just looks like he's living up to the hype of everything he's ever said he was. Everything that a lot of people, he didn't get as much credit in Kansas City because Mahomes is so good over there. But I think that he deserves a little bit more credit now that you see him in a different offense and his ability to not only continue but almost to do better, improve himself as a player. He is still young enough where he's just really getting into his prime. It's going to be fun to watch him play football for a little while. But he's one of those, he's probably top 3, argument for best receiver in football. And with Waddle over there and these guys, Tua, if he had, not missed those games with the concussion and all that, he'd probably be, right up there with Josh Allen as far as, MVP race right now. Which is a great turnaround for him because I know at one point early in his, after his rookie season, they were considering maybe even trading him away. So it's nice that they held on to the pieces and managed to figure out how to make him work. I'm taking Miami in this one, 33-19. That's we'll see what happens, but I think Miami, their offense is just you can't really count them out right now. These guys are able to put up so many points, and it's pretty intense. Next game on the slate is we have Denver at Tennessee. Tannehill's back this game, so you might see a little bit of Tennessee fall back to their early season form. And with Henry on a roll now, leading the league in rushing, he's back to his old self. I see Tennessee. Denver's still got too many question marks. They're still all over the place. They're just not. Something's not clicking over there, and it's a shame. With Tannehill back and Tennessee, with Henry again progressively just getting better almost every week. I'm going to go with Tennessee in this one. Not a high-scoring game because they are still missing some pieces on both sides of the ball. But I'm going to take Tennessee 17-13 in this one. Hats off to you guys. Hopefully Tannehill, looks good in his first game back. But we'll see what happens. Next game's probably going to be one of the better games of the week. That's Minnesota, the 6-1 Minnesota Vikings versus the 7-1 Minnesota Vikings. I'm sorry. Versus the Buffalo Bills, who just lost a rough game last week to the Jets. Josh Allen, towards the end of the fourth quarter, took a real bad hit on his elbow. They thought it was something really, really serious. At one point, I know they were talking about potentially having to IR him and have him get surgery, which would pretty much end the season. But looking on the injury reports and the updates, it looks like he's slated to be the starter this week. So maybe it was a lot less serious. They were just erring on the side of caution until they got their chance to really look at things. But you're looking at two pretty high-powered offenses with probably two of the best receivers in football in Diggs and Jefferson. You're in a situation where this is going to be. Hopefully, it's going to be one of these high-action, high-octane shootout games. But I'm looking to see Buffalo take this one. I haven't taken it 29-21. Minnesota's going to still come out and do their thing. It's going to be interesting to see if and when Buffalo starts to try to work in Nyheim Hines into their offense too. They traded for him, and he is a good receiving back. They did get rid of Zach Moss. So it's going to be interesting to see if he gets a chance to maybe catch some balls and do some work this week. Next game on the slate for 1 o'clock is going to be our Tennessee and New York Giants game. The Giants are, they're kind of a surprise team this year. It doesn't surprise me that Saquon's a top 5 running back right now. but it does surprise me that the rest of the offense is doing as well as it is. But Texans right now are pretty much bottom feeders. It's a shame. There's only a few other teams that are bottoming out worse than they are. So I think at this point, I'm going to take the Giants in this one. I'm going to take the Giants 19-10 in this one. Texans might be able to score and put a couple points on the board, but I really don't see them doing much against the Giants. At the same time, the Giants. They did get rid of Tony. They're in a situation where the receiving core is a bunch of who are those guys. They're managing to make it work. Danny Dimes looks pretty good out there. He's a lot more athletic than I think a lot of people expected him to be. I think when he got drafted over there, I think a lot of people pretty much expect him to be, they turned the clock back on Eli and pretty much got Eli again at a younger age. He's clearly not that. His athletic ability is already proven that he's way more of an athletic quarterback than Eli ever was. So hats off to the Giants for being one of these teams that's at the top of the league right now. From one of the hugest transitions. It's good to see that not only them but the Jets had all these draft picks and they were able to take advantage of them and make their teams better. Because they both definitely have improved. And when you have that many picks and that many guys, that much chance to change, it's good to take advantage of it and not waste it. So hats off to you, Giants. Hope you win this one. Next game on the slate is going to be Jacksonville at Kansas City. I think I'm taking Kansas City in this one, 31-27. But I do think this, out of all the underdog teams this week, I think this is the one that probably has the best chance of coming out on the other side. I think this is a game Jacksonville could win. Not to take anything away from Kansas City. If Jacksonville wins, it's going to be a high scoring game. But Etienne just looks really good over there. For a guy who's missed his whole rookie year to an injury, he's come out pretty much on fire this year. I mean, they started out the season splitting him and Robinson, and obviously Robinson got traded to the Jets after Breece Hall went down because they really felt they could rely on him, and he's proven himself pretty worthy. Etienne's stat lines every game seem to just be getting better and better and better. They've got Christian Kirk over there. Great pickup in the offseason. I think that next year they're going to, with Calvin Ridley on their offense next year, again, I think they're going to have a pretty impressive, it might have taken a couple of years to put together, but Jacksonville's going to have a pretty impressive team next year. As for this year, again, this is one of those games they very well could win. But at the same time, if Mahomes comes out and the Mahomes and Kelsey show starts to go off, it's going to be hard to outscore them, and that's really what you got to do is you're trying to outscore them. I know it sounds silly to say, but it's a shootout game. This isn't a high defense game where you're just trying to put up enough points to win. This is one of those ones that could come down to whoever has the ball last, wins. And you can't even give Kansas City more than 10 seconds in that situation. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see how it turns out. But I'm taking Kansas City just because that's where the numbers lie. But I still think Jacksonville could win this one. Again, Kansas City 31-27. Next game is New Orleans Pitt. This is one of those games where both teams are pretty banged up. They're not the teams that you think they are. New Orleans is still going with Andy Dalton with Jameis Winston healthy. You might be seeing Jarvis this week. He did practice in limited practice this week. There's a chance he comes back. Michael Thomas is out for the year. He had surgery on his foot. So that's a tough hit. The offense, thank God they drafted Olave. The guy's doing great over there. But they're going with Andy Dalton over Winston. Winston's been cleared for a couple weeks, and they've got him in second on the depth chart. Andy Dalton seems to be able to run the offense a little more efficiently, I guess they feel. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, is just dealing with a rebuild. They've got a running back in Najee Harris who looked really good last year, but this year he looks kind of soft. He doesn't look like a powerful back. He's great hands. He doesn't fumble the ball much. Didn't fumble at all last year until the playoff game. But he's just not. a power back. He's not that guy who hits the hole with explosion. Any running back, if you're a starting running back in the NFL, you can, once you should be able to, eventually every once in a while you're going to find a seam or a crease you can, to put on a highlight film. But the reality of it is he doesn't consistently play with any kind of power or strength in his running game. And you got Pickett over there trying to learn the offense. Pickens is looking good as a rookie. He looks like he's going to be a solid addition over there. This week, notably though, you do have Minka Fitzpatrick coming back this week, so that should be that'll help Pittsburgh's defense a little bit. But this is one of those. If they were either team was playing somebody else, I wouldn't pick either of them. But this is one of those games where you have to pick somebody. So I'm going to pick New Orleans 20-17. The only reason I think either team's going to put up that much is neither team's defense is really doing well either. Again, you got to pick somebody. Neither team is going to. I don't think anybody's going to get wowed here. But we'll see what happens. That's the last of our 1 o'clock games. Our 4 p.m. games start off with Indy and Vegas. And this is a game where, they've got the rookie over in Indy. They're giving him the start, Englander, I think his name. I think he hit, depending on how he plays this week, if he plays this week like he does last week, I'll tell you right now, Matt Ryan's going to be back in. Unless they're truly just playing for the bottom of the barrel, in the draft. But Vegas, on the other hand, I don't know what's happening over there. On paper, this team was a top 5 team coming into the season, and you look at them now, and your hands are up. With all the talent over there, with all the people they have around them, you just expect more. These are 2 teams that just really haven't lived up to the expectation this year. Indy was projected to be a top 5 team. Vegas was projected to be a top 5 team. Picking up Adams was supposed to change, give Vegas the piece that they needed to really get over the hump. But it feels like they constantly fail to utilize the running game, and in those games they're constantly losing. Jacobs just isn't getting the opportunities he should. They have dealt with a few injuries, so Renfro missed a couple games here and there. But over in Indy, I don't know what's going on. Jonathan Taylor, it's tough because the offensive line isn't what it was last year. They have a rookie starting at left tackle, and the guy, he's. He might as well be, a screen door. It's terrible. They're just running right through him over there. They're not getting the kind of protection they need for anybody. It's just, it's tough to watch because again, 2 teams you had so much expectation. I'm gonna take Vegas in this one just because if they're starting the rookie in Indy, I can't. I just after watching him play last week, I can't see him doing anything that's gonna matter. So I'm gonna take the rookie in Vegas. I'm gonna take the Vegas. I'm gonna bet against a rookie here. I'm gonna go 21-13 in this one. Next game on the 4 o'clock slate is Arizona versus the Rams. I'd love to say hands down the Rams, but the Rams are playing like defending Super Bowl champs this year. They got a lot of problems. They're missing Beckham. He definitely made a difference towards the end of the season last year. They're also missing Cam Akers. I don't know what happened over there with him. I read the reports. I know how they've been real quiet about it. They haven't leaked a lot of information. But for whatever happened at some point, something happened between him and the team, and they couldn't trade him. McVay keeps saying that he's still a part of the team and they're going to have him worked it out and then, he'll be back in the running game. But I don't see that happening at this point. I just don't understand what went wrong over there. And I'm sure at some point the story will get out and the truth will get out. But on the other side, you have Arizona who really... the only thing that's really looked good since Hopkins came back, I know they expect this huge turnaround in the offense, but really it's, Hopkins is the only thing that's looked good since he's come back because, all those balls that were getting, shuffled around to all these people really are just getting thrown to Hopkins now. And the guy can catch every ball you throw to him, so it's insane. But I know they had Green go down, they had Hollywood Brown go down, they brought in a few other guys to try to, keep some talent around him. But it's tough to, Kyler Murray's just not the guy to be moving the ball around over there. And, they get the right guy behind that talent. Connor's back. He's healthy. When he's on the field, he's a solid guy you can count on in the backfield. And again, Hopkins might be the best receiver in the NFL right now still, which is a shame that we had to miss, the first 6 weeks without him. But I'm going to take the Rams in this one, 27-24. These games, Arizona's been in like shootout games almost every week, and they usually are coming from behind. It's usually, the defense lets up a lot of points, so I'm gonna go against bet against Arizona in this one, and I'm gonna stick with the home team and take the Rams, and hopefully they pull this one out. Next game, again on the schedule, I imagine there was a time when this looked like it was gonna be a really good game, but this is Dallas and Green Bay, and Green Bay is looking at potentially dropping. I think this would be 6 in a row. Maybe five or six in a row here. Dallas's defense is pretty intense, and it's probably one of the better defenses, if not the best defense that Green Bay is going to be playing this year so far. And Green Bay, it's Dallas. Their offense looks good. It looks like Dak's back in form. I think you're going to see Elliott back back on the field this week as well. So they got the young tight end behind that's plays the second string tight end over there. Really has the last couple weeks really came out and done pretty well as well. Green Bay's just between the inexperience, the lack of chemistry, and the injuries. These guys just are taking a beating this year. And I say it over and over again, but unfortunately, Rodgers and that contract really strangled these guys as far as being able to bring in other talent. I had read an article about how they tried to, they're trying to make a trade for Waller, but they're having trouble working out the deal because his contract, there wasn't enough money on the table. They would have had to release a couple guys or move more guys with the trade than they were willing to, because again, you got Aaron Rodgers is getting. $50 million a year, and this guy just threw 3 picks last week, and only 1 touchdown, and that came late in the game. It's his contract's a burden to that team. It really tied them down, and it's going to be hard to rebuild around them. I think their best chance would have been trying to move A.J. Dillon to a team and get some kind of either trade capital for him or some kind of, number 2 or maybe even number 1 wide out, depending on how valuable the team thought Dillon was. Unfortunately, I think the spiral is going to continue over there just because, not because Green Bay can't win, but I think more because Dallas is just, again, a top-forming team this year. Dallas is one of those teams that, when healthy, is a very dangerous team. So I'm going to take Dallas in this one, 31-17. That's the last of the 4 o'clock games. The 8:20 p.m. Sunday night game is going to be the LA Chargers versus the San Francisco 49ers. This is, again, another game that's going to be pretty interesting. The Niners, I got to look up I got to check Devo's if he's going to actually play or not. But so what they've been able to do since McCaffrey's come in, it's been great. I mean, it seems like it's probably the trade of the year. Them picking up McCaffrey. Not only that, they kind of freed him from Carolina, which has just kind of been a dumpster fire for the last couple of years. And the Chargers are just, Allen hasn't played all year. He played 1 game, and then he played 2 weeks ago on limit. He played on a snap count. He wasn't really happy with the idea. So I know that he doesn't want to come back until he's 100%, and they're going to let him play fully. So I'm not sure if that's going to be this game or not. If he's on the field, he's a difference maker. But without him on the field, them just going with the guys we know are going to be healthy. I really got, even I got to take the 49ers in this one. I took 49ers 28-24. Eckler's having a great season. He's leading the league in scoring. I think he's got 11 or 12, which is great for a guy who didn't have a touchdown through for the first 3 weeks. He's really gone off in the last couple of weeks. And But I at the same time, Christian McCaffrey's just so hard to deal with over there, and they've got the rest of the guys around him, even without Debo, are talented enough. They have Ayuk, they have a few other guys over there that are able to. You got Kittle, you got guys that are on the field, and Garoppolo, obviously, They weren't expecting him to be the starter this year, and he's really, came in for Trey Lance and done a great job. The guy that, everybody, knows he is. He's a solid quarterback who can run the team and carry him to the playoffs. And, with McCaffrey on the field, it's pretty disgusting. I know Elijah Mitchell actually came off IR this week, and I think he's practiced. I don't know if they're expecting him to play this week or if he's going to play next week, but I don't know what kind of role he's really going to have in that offense now that McCaffrey is, on the 49ers. But it still should be an interesting game. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch, but I think the Niners are probably going to be able to take this one 28-24. And I think it has more to do with their defense, too. The Niners' defense is pretty tough. So I expect a little bit more out of them than maybe out of the Chargers. Hats off to the Niners. Hope you guys take this one. Monday night's game is Washington versus Philly in Philly. Not as interesting of a game as you want it to be. Philly's still undefeated. Impressive feat, but they really haven't played too many contenders. So I don't want to take anything away from it. They're still going into Week 10 undefeated, that's excellent for them. But at the same time, they're also a lot of their games are more like bullying, and this is going to be another one of those games. I took Philly in this one, 34-17. Philly's offense is pretty well rounded right now. I don't know why these guys gave up. AJ Brown. It just seems like it was so dumb. But he seems to fit in well over there. The offense is pretty well spread out and balanced. The running games between Hurts and Sanders, these guys are able to really, move the ball around on the ground over there. And their defense has, only gotten better. They just added Robert Quinn. We're going to get to see him in action this week over there. Hats off to Philly for, being undefeated. I think again, it's obviously they're not going to go undefeated for the season. Eventually, they are going to lose, but I don't think this is going to be one of those games. I think Philly stays undefeated this week, and they stay convincingly undefeated. So that's my review for Sunday and Monday. I hope everything's well with Keith, and we'll see him, and myself here next week for our weekend review and our Thursday preview for Week 11. In the meantime, everybody have a good one. Enjoy your Sunday football. Enjoy your football at 9:30 in Germany, and we will see you next week.
Ooh.